I sat in the lawyer's office holding the finalized divorce papers in my hands, while my wife was at home completely unaware of what was coming. I did not feel angry anymore. I did not feel sad either. Just this strange calm after months of pain. 3 weeks ago, Diane screamed at me that she regretted marrying me, that she could have settled for someone better. That was the final straw. But the truth is, the painful journey started months before that moment. How does a marriage you once trusted completely fall apart like this? Before we dive into the story, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you are ready to hear how sometimes the person you trust most can become a stranger right before your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, this gets real, and you will want to stay until the end to see how I turned everything around. Diane and I had been married for 4 years. We met in college, loved each other for 6 years, before we finally tied the knot. I worked as a construction engineer, and she was a marketing manager for a tech company. Our life seemed pretty solid. We had this cozy little house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. We had 2 golden retrievers, Cooper, being the older one who loved to sleep on the couch. Every weekend we would cook together. I would handle the grilling while Diane made her famous garlic mashed potatoes. Our finances were stable. I earned a decent income and Diane's career was climbing upward. We had plans for the future. We talked about having kids within a year. We had even started preparing the nursery, painting it a soft yellow, because we wanted to keep the gender a surprise. Our relationship with family was strong too. Patricia, Diane's older sister, treated me like her own brother. She would call me just to chat, asking for advice about her own marriage. Her husband Tom and I would go fishing together every other month. Everything felt right. Everything felt like we were building something real, something lasting. Then, about 6 months ago, things started shifting. Diane began working on a new project at her company. She mentioned a colleague named Scott a few times. At first, it was casual. She would say things like, "Scott suggested this marketing angle," or "Scott and I are brainstorming tomorrow." I did not think much of it. Diane was ambitious. She wanted that promotion to senior manager, and I supported her completely. But then the small changes started piling up. Diane would come home later than usual. She always had an explanation. Team meetings ran long. Client calls happened after hours. We had a presentation deadline. All reasonable excuses. I trusted her, so I believed every word. Her phone habits changed too. She started placing it face down on the table. She changed her passcode, something we had never hidden from each other before. When I asked about it casually, she said her company required stronger security protocols. Again, it sounded logical. Her attitude toward me shifted as well. She became distant. When I would try to hug her, she would stiffen slightly, then pull away after a brief moment. Our conversations grew shorter. I would ask about her day, and she would give one-word answers. Fine, tired, busy. I told myself she was just stressed. She was working hard for that promotion. I needed to be understanding, supportive. So I picked up more of the household chores. I would have dinner ready when she got home. I took care of the dogs, did the laundry, cleaned the house. I thought I was helping. But instead of appreciation, Diane seemed irritated by my efforts. She would look at the dinner I made and say she already ate at work. She would go straight to the bedroom without even acknowledging what I had done. One evening stands out clearly in my memory. It was the 10th anniversary of the day we first met. Not our wedding anniversary, but the day we locked eyes in that college library, and I knew I wanted to know her. I remembered that day like it was yesterday. She was wearing a green sweater and had her hair in a messy bun hunched over a biology textbook. I had spent weeks building up the courage to talk to her. That night, I wanted to celebrate how far we had come. I spent the whole afternoon preparing. I made her favorite meal, chicken piccata with angel hair pasta. I bought a bouquet of sunflowers because she always said they made her happy. I set the table with candles and our good dishes, the ones we only used for special occasions. I even put on the jazz playlist we listened to on our first date. I texted her earlier that day, reminding her to come home at a reasonable time because I had a surprise. 9 o'clock rolled around. The food was cold. The candles had burned down halfway. I heard her car pull into the driveway and relief washed over me. Maybe we could still salvage the evening. She walked in, barely glancing at the setup. She looked exhausted, but there was something else in her expression. Guilt, maybe. Or annoyance. "Where were you?" I asked, keeping my voice light. "I told you I had something special planned." She dropped her purse on the counter and sighed heavily. "I was at a work dinner, Julius." "I forgot, okay. It is not a big deal anyway." Those words hit me harder than I expected. Not a big deal. This moment that meant something to me, this effort I put in, dismissed in 5 words. I tried to push down the hurt. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe it really was not a big deal. I asked if everything was okay, if something was bothering her. She snapped at me. "I am just tired, Julius. Stop being so clingy." Clingy. That word stung. I was not being clingy. I was trying to connect with my wife. I was trying to keep our relationship alive. But she made me feel like I was suffocating her, just by caring. I did not say anything else. I quietly put the food away while she went upstairs. No apology. No acknowledgement of my effort. Just silence. That night, lying in bed next to her, I felt alone for the first time in our marriage. She had her back to me, already asleep or pretending to be. I stared at the ceiling, wondering what was happening to us. But I told myself, this was just a rough patch. Every couple goes through difficult phases. We would get through this. We always did. I just needed to be patient. 4 months before everything exploded, I saw something that made my stomach drop. Diane had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she took a shower. It buzzed with a text message. I was not trying to snoop. The screen lit up and I glanced at it reflexively. The name at the top said Scott with a heart emoji next to it. My hands went cold. The preview of the message read, "Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was amazing. Last night. Amazing." My mind raced through the previous evening. Diane said she was working late on a campaign pitch. She came home after 11, went straight to bed. Told me she was exhausted. And now this message. I stood there frozen, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Part of me wanted to unlock her phone and read everything. Part of me was terrified of what I would find. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. I stepped away from the phone, my hands shaking. When Diane came down, I confronted her. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Who is Scott?" I asked. She paused, her eyes flickering with something I could not quite read. "I told you he is a colleague." Why? Her tone was defensive already. "I saw a message from him," I said. It seemed kind of personal. Her face changed instantly. Anger flashed across it. "You were looking at my phone." "How dare you, Julius? That is my private property. You have no right to invade my privacy like that." I was taken aback by how quickly she turned it around on me. I was not trying to invade anything, I explained. The message just popped up. But she was not listening. She went on about how I did not trust her, how I was being controlling, how she felt suffocated in this marriage. Every accusation she threw at me made me question myself. Was I being paranoid? Was I overreacting to a harmless work relationship? She told me Scott was just a colleague, that they had been working late on the project, that the message was taken out of context. "You are reading too much into it because you are insecure," she said. That word again. Insecure. She made me feel like the problem was me, not whatever was actually happening between her and Scott. I apologized. I actually apologized for bringing it up, for making her feel like I did not trust her. She stormed off and I sat there feeling like the worst husband in the world. That is what manipulation does. It twists your reality until you cannot tell what is true anymore. Over the next 3 months, things got progressively worse. Diane barely spoke to me unless it was necessary. She stopped coming to bed at the same time I did. She would stay up late on her laptop saying she had work to finish. Our physical intimacy disappeared completely. Every time I tried to initiate anything, she would say she was not in the mood or she was too tired. I stopped trying after a while. The rejection hurt too much. Weekends became lonely. Diane always had somewhere to be. She would say she was meeting colleagues for brunch to discuss strategy. She had a networking event downtown. She needed to run errands alone because I would slow her down. I spent Saturdays taking Cooper for long walks, trying to clear my head. I started noticing how empty the house felt even when she was there. Patricia called me one afternoon. Her voice was concerned. "Julius, is everything okay with you and Diane? I have noticed she has been acting strange lately. She barely talks during family dinners. And when I ask about you, she changes the subject." I wanted to tell Patricia everything. I wanted to unload all my fears and confusion. But I held back. I did not want to worry her. I did not want to admit that my marriage was falling apart. "Everything is fine," I lied. "We are just busy with work." She did not sound convinced, but she let it go. I confided in Jake, my best friend from college. We met for drinks one evening and I told him everything. The distance, the text message, the constant excuses. Jake listened carefully, then said something that stuck with me. "Brother, you need to pay closer attention. Something does not add up here. If your gut is telling you something is wrong, it probably is." But I still wanted to believe in Diane. I still wanted to trust that our marriage meant something to her. Then, I found the hotel receipt. I was doing laundry, a chore that had become entirely mine, and I checked the pockets of Diane's coat before throwing it in the wash. A small piece of paper was tucked in the inside pocket. It was a receipt from a luxury hotel in downtown Portland. Room for two. The date was from a week ago. That was the night Diane said she had to go to Seattle for a business trip. She told me she would be staying at the conference hotel, sent me a quick text saying she arrived safely, and that was it. My hands trembled as I held that receipt. This was not paranoia. This was not insecurity. This was evidence. I checked our joint credit card statement online. There were charges I had not noticed before. Expensive dinners at restaurants we never went to together. Purchases from stores Diane never mentioned. Flowers sent to an address I did not recognize. Everything painted a picture I did not want to see, but I could not ignore anymore. I made a decision that felt like betrayal, but I had to know the truth. I hired a private investigator named David. He came recommended from a lawyer friend of Jake's. Meeting David felt surreal. I sat in his modest office explaining my situation while he took notes. He did not judge. He just asked practical questions. "When does your wife usually leave for work? Does she have a consistent schedule? Do you have recent photos of her?" I provided everything he needed, feeling guilty the entire time. But I had reached a point where I needed concrete answers. The waiting period was torture. 2 weeks of continuing to live with Diane, pretending everything was normal, while knowing an investigator was following her. I could barely sleep. I could barely eat. My performance at work suffered. My boss asked if I was feeling all right. I blamed it on a stomach bug. How could I explain that I was waiting for confirmation that my wife was cheating on me? 3 weeks ago, David sent me his report. I was at work when the email came through. I went to my car in the parking lot before opening it, needing privacy for whatever I was about to see. The email contained a folder of photographs, videos, and a detailed timeline. My heart raced as I clicked on the first image. There was Diane and Scott walking into a hotel. His hand was on the small of her back. They looked comfortable together, familiar. The timestamp showed it was 2 days ago during her supposed late meeting. The next photos were worse. Diane and Scott kissing in a parking garage. Diane and Scott having dinner at an upscale restaurant, holding hands across the table. Video footage showed them at a park sitting on a bench. Scott had his arm around her shoulders. She was laughing at something he said, that genuine laugh I had not heard from her in months. The images kept coming, each one a knife in my chest. But the worst part was seeing Diane wear the dress I bought her for her birthday last year. She wore it on a date with him. According to David's report, the affair had been going on for at least 4 months, possibly longer. They met at hotels twice a week. They had lunch together almost daily. Scott worked in a different department at her company, so they were not even direct colleagues. This was not some accidental closeness that developed from working late nights. This was intentional. This was a relationship. I sat in my car staring at the evidence, and something shifted inside me. The pain was still there, sharp and overwhelming. But underneath it, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I was not crazy. I was not insecure. I was not the problem. Diane had been lying to me for months, gaslighting me, making me question my own perception of reality. And now, I had proof. That afternoon, I called a divorce lawyer. Her name was Margaret, and she had a reputation for being tough, but fair. I scheduled a meeting for the next morning. Sitting across from Margaret in her office, I laid out everything. The timeline, the evidence, the emotional abuse disguised as my insecurity. She listened, made notes, and then looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and determination. Julius, you have a strong case here. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, but infidelity can still impact certain aspects of the settlement. With this evidence, we can move forward quickly. Do you want to proceed? I nodded. Yes, I am done. Margaret prepared the paperwork over the next few days. I went through the motions at home, acting as normal as possible. Diane did not notice anything different. She was too absorbed in her own world, her double life. I used that time to prepare. I opened a separate bank account and transferred half of our joint savings, which was legally mine. I made copies of all our financial documents, mortgage papers, car titles. I moved my important belongings, family heirlooms, documents, slowly out of the house, taking them to Jake's place for safekeeping. I was methodical. I was careful. And I was ready. The confrontation happened 3 weeks ago on a Thursday night. Diane came home at 11 p.m. I was sitting in the living room with all the lights off waiting. I heard her key in the lock, heard her heels on the hardwood floor. When she flipped the light switch and saw me sitting there, she jumped. "What are you doing sitting in the dark, Julius? You scared me." Her voice had that edge of irritation I had become so familiar with. "Where were you?" I asked calmly. She rolled her eyes. "I told you I was at a work dinner. We were celebrating closing the Henderson account." My voice remained steady. "With Scott." Her body language changed immediately. She stiffened. Her eyes narrowed. "Why are you asking about Scott again? I thought we were past this. You need to stop being so paranoid." "It is exhausting, Julius. I am tired of defending myself against your insecurity." I stood up slowly. The months of being made to feel crazy, of being called insecure and paranoid, all came rushing back. And I let her keep talking. "You know what she said," her voice rising. "I regret marrying you, Julius. I could have settled for someone better. Someone who does not suffocate me with their constant need for reassurance. Someone who actually trusts me. I have been miserable for years, but I stayed because I felt sorry for you." The words hung in the air. Years. She said years. Our entire marriage had been a lie to her. I took a breath, then asked one more time. "Is that really what you think?" "Yes," she shouted. "Yes, it is. I cannot do this anymore." I walked over to the coffee table and picked up a manila envelope I had placed there earlier. I held it out to her. "I wanted to hear it from you. But I guess I got my answer." She snatched the envelope, confused and angry. "What is this? Just open it," I said. She tore it open and pulled out the contents. Photographs of her and Scott spilled onto the floor. Her face went from angry to pale in seconds. She stared at the images, then at me, her mouth opening but no words coming out. "Where did you get these?" she finally whispered. "Does it matter?" I replied. "You just told me you regret marrying me. You told me I am not good enough." "Well, congratulations, Diane. You are free now." She tried to recover, tried to explain. "Julius, this is not what it looks like." "Okay, it is, But it is complicated. You pushed me away. You made me feel trapped. I made a mistake, but we can fix this." Her words tumbled out desperately. "We can go to counseling. I will end things with Scott. Please, we can work through this." I shook my head. "Save it. I already filed for divorce." Her eyes went wide. "You did what the papers will be served to you tomorrow morning," I said. "And I sent all the evidence to Patricia an hour ago." That last part broke her. She sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. "You told my sister Julius, how could you?" "How could I?" I repeated. "You cheated on me for months, Diane. You lied to my face. You made me feel like I was losing my mind. And you have the nerve to ask how I could tell your sister the truth. Patricia deserves to know who her sister really is. Your whole family deserves to know because you have spent years pretending to be someone you are not." Diane cycled through emotions rapidly. She went from begging to anger to blaming me. "This is your fault," she screamed. "If you had been more attentive, more exciting, I would not have looked elsewhere. You let yourself go. You became boring." I smiled coldly at that. Boring. I became boring because I was busy being a faithful husband while you were out building a relationship with someone else. "I packed a bag earlier today," I told her. "I am staying at Jake's place. You have the house for now, but that will be sorted in the divorce. My lawyer will be in touch." I walked toward the door. Diane followed me, still talking, still trying to find some angle to make me stay. "Julius, please. We can get past this. I love you." I stopped at the door and turned back to her. "No, Diane. You love the security I provided. You love having someone to fall back on while you explore other options. But you do not love me. If you did, we would not be here." I left that night and did not look back. The aftermath came swiftly. Patricia called me the next morning. "Julius, I just saw what you sent. I cannot believe this. I am so sorry. I feel ashamed that my sister did this to you." Her voice was thick with emotion. "You do not need to apologize for her, Patricia," I said gently. "This is not your fault. I know, but you are family to me. You will always be family. I am cutting Diane off for a while. She needs to understand how serious this is." Diane's parents reached out too. Her father called me, his voice heavy with disappointment. "Julius, we raised her better than this. We are heartbroken about what she did to you. You have always been a good man, a good husband. I hope you find happiness after all this." Their support meant more than I expected. Diane had tried to paint me as the villain, but the evidence spoke louder than her lies. Diane attempted to contact me constantly. Phone calls, text messages, emails. She showed up at my workplace once, but security turned her away after I had informed them of the situation. Every message was some variation of the same theme. "Please talk to me. I made a mistake. I am so sorry. We can fix this if you just give me a chance." I never responded. I let Margaret, my lawyer, handle all communication. The divorce process moved quickly because the infidelity was documented so thoroughly. Oregon law made it straightforward. We had a prenuptial agreement that I had insisted on before we got married, much to Diane's annoyance at the time. Now I was grateful for it. The house was in my name from before the marriage. We split the joint assets 50-50. She kept her car, I kept mine. We divided the furniture and belongings without much fight. Diane did not have the energy to battle me in court, not with the evidence I had. Within 3 months, the divorce was finalized. Those first 3 months after I left were strange. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out part of my chest. I would wake up at Jake's place and forget for a moment that my marriage was over. Then reality would crash back in, and I would have to face another day. But something surprising happened. Underneath the grief, I felt relief. I did not have to walk on eggshells anymore. I did not have to wonder where Diane was or who she was with. I did not have to feel like I was not enough. The weight of her manipulation lifted slowly, day by day. Jake was incredible during this time. He made sure I ate even when I did not feel like it. He dragged me out to play basketball, to go hiking, to just sit at a bar and watch sports. He never pushed me to talk, but he was always there when I needed to. My coworkers rallied around me too. Word had gotten around about the divorce and people were supportive. My boss gave me some time off to handle everything, told me to take care of myself. Patricia kept her word. She stayed in touch with me, inviting me to family gatherings, even though Diane was not welcome. Her husband Tom and I still went fishing. It felt good to know that I had not lost everyone in the divorce. 3 months after everything was finalized, Patricia told me that Diane's relationship with Scott had fallen apart. Apparently, once the thrill of sneaking around was gone, they realized they had nothing substantial. Scott had actually been married too, something Diane had not known. His wife found out and left him. So both of them ended up alone. I did not feel satisfaction hearing that. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt sad for everyone involved. Sad that so much damage had been done for something that was not even real. But I also felt grateful. Grateful that I found out when I did. Grateful that I had the strength to walk away. Grateful that I did not waste more years on someone who did not value me. I threw myself into work. 6 months after the divorce, I was offered a promotion to senior engineer on a major infrastructure project. It was a role I had been working toward for years. I accepted it immediately. The project was challenging, demanding exactly what I needed to focus my energy on something productive. My career flourished in ways it had not when I was dealing with the stress of a failing marriage. I picked up new hobbies too. I started playing golf with some colleagues on weekends. I joined a rock climbing gym and discovered I loved the physical and mental challenge of it. I adopted another dog, a rescue named Murphy, who had been abandoned by his previous owners. Murphy and Cooper became inseparable, and having them around made the house feel less empty. After about 8 months, friends started encouraging me to date again. I was not sure I was ready. The thought of trusting someone new terrified me. But I also did not want to let what Diane did define the rest of my life. I went on a few dates, nothing serious. Most of them were nice enough, but I was not in a rush. I was learning to be happy on my own first, to rebuild my sense of self that had been eroded during those final months of my marriage. Looking back now, a year after everything fell apart, I can see the red flags I ignored. The way Diane started prioritizing everything over our relationship. The way she made me feel guilty for wanting basic connection and honesty. The way she twisted every conversation to make me the problem. I should have trusted my instincts earlier. But I also understand why I did not. When you love someone, you want to believe the best in them. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. That is not a weakness. That is human. I learned some crucial lessons from this experience. First, trust is essential, but it cannot be blind. If something feels wrong, it probably is. You should not ignore your gut just because you are afraid of what you might find. Second, respect yourself enough to walk away from people who do not value you. Diane showed me through her actions that I was not a priority to her. Staying would have only prolonged the pain. Third, take action. Do not just sit there hoping things will magically improve. I could have kept pretending everything was fine, kept accepting her excuses, kept letting her make me feel crazy. Instead, I gathered evidence, consulted professionals, and made a plan. That agency saved me. Fourth, you cannot force someone to love you or stay committed to you. If someone wants to leave, let them. Trying to hold on to Diane would have been pointless. She had already left emotionally long before I filed for divorce. And finally, you can survive heartbreak. You can come out the other side stronger, wiser, more in tune with yourself. The pain does not last forever, even when it feels like it will. I do not hate Diane anymore. I do not really feel much of anything toward her. Sometimes I feel sorry for her because I think she sabotaged something real, out of boredom or restlessness or whatever was missing inside her. But that is her journey to figure out, not mine. I have moved forward. I have built a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. I have friendships that matter. I have a career I am proud of. And I have peace, which is something I did not have for a long time. One evening recently, I was going through some old boxes in my garage organizing things I had been putting off. I found my wedding ring in a small velvet box tucked away, with other memories I had not looked at in months. I held it in my hand, studying it. There was a time when this ring symbolized forever, a promise I thought we would keep. Now it is just a piece of metal, a reminder of what was lost, but also what I gained. I gained my self-respect back. I gained clarity. I gained freedom. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who does not value you. And in that moment of walking away, you are not losing love. You are finding yourself again. That is what I did. I walked away from someone who made me feel small, who lied to me, who took my loyalty for granted. And in doing so, I found the person I used to be before all the doubt and pain. I found Julius again, and he is doing just fine. So if you are going through something similar, if you are questioning whether you are crazy, or if your partner really is treating you poorly, trust yourself. Document what is happening. Seek support from people who care about you. And when you have had enough, do not be afraid to take action. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not someone who makes you an option while they explore other paths. Life is too short to spend it with someone who makes you feel like you are not enough. Because you are enough. You always have been. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they did not value you? How did you find the strength to move forward? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I share more real-life experiences and lessons learned. And share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes, knowing you are not alone makes all the difference. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it brings you clarity, strength, or just the comfort of knowing that heartbreak does not last forever. Take care of yourselves and remember that you deserve to be treated with love and respect always.